So what's the importance of job order production? We have two thoughts here, process costing and job costing. What are the differences? And this is from manufacturing. Process costing is when we're talking about very standard products. When we're talking, what do we mean by standard product? Those loaves of bread. If you see any product in the store that's standardized, that you know what you're gonna buy is the same quality as anything else you're gonna buy, you're gonna get 10 pieces of bread, or that Skippy's peanut butter. I'm hungry, that's why I'm talking about food. Or if we talk about bicycles or cars, like if you buy a Toyota Corolla, we know what you're going to get. Or, but there might be more custom things. So process costing, we're building a bunch of a large amount of not unique items. We're building a lot of them, and they're mass produced. That's going to use process costing. We're going to talk about that next because that has its own complexities. What we're going to talk about today is job costing. Job costing is for production of large, unique, high-cost items. I think the most common one, you might think, if you're doing a financial statement, that could cost $100,000 from an accounting perspective, or an expensive tax return could cost a lot. Or I think the easiest for us to think of is like building a house, or building a townhome, or building an apartment complex. That's kind of would need job costing. And so what is job order production? They're going to be these custom orders for non-similar heterogeneous products and services. It's not going to be a large production volume. It's going to be a lot of flexibility within the product, a lot of customization, and a little standardization. On the process operations, so the job order, they're using an example here of like a doctor appointment. That's pretty custom, right? You need a doctor specific or a surgery specific to you. While the process operations are using examples of bottled water. Yeah, hopefully you're not going to get too much of a difference between one bottle of water and the other. The production activities and job order costing. We have manufacturing cost, overhead labor, right? The materials, overhead labor, those are manufacturing costs. We talked about that. Direct materials, direct labor goes directly into the work in process. And then some of these pieces go into overhead costs. Overhead is always an overhead cost, which then get allocated. And so that's always going to be the complexity in managerial accounting. It's going to be relatively easy to trace, as long as we keep records correctly, it's going to be relatively easy to trace direct materials and direct labors to a job. As long as, you know, Jim comes in and Jim books his hours, says, oh, I worked on job B15, I built a custom car. And as long as he logged his hours and said, I spent 10 hours working on this car, it's pretty easy to trace that labor. Also, it's easy to say, oh, we used product A10 on job B15. That's pretty easy. But it's pretty difficult to then allocate, okay, what about all the screws, bolts? What about the electricity? What about our supervisor's time? This, we have to use estimates for allocation. And that's where we got our overhead, the overhead thought. And so from a working, we'll still have our work in process, finished goods, and cost of goods sold here. But we'll be tracking it by job. And so we'll see, okay, how far along is the job? Is the job complete? If it's complete, then it's in finished good. If it's not complete, it's in work in process. And then any of our raw materials are over here. And then finally, when we sell it, then it goes into our cost of goods sold and our revenue. And so this is just a narrative of that visual previously. So manufacturing cost flow, we have our raw materials. Those are our direct and indirect materials. We have our work in process. That's a job that has just been started. Our finished good is when we completed the job, and our cost of goods sold is when it's sold.